Would you rather have your body covered in hickeys or have a tattoo on your forehead that says horny?
I do consider myself to have been a nerd and am still. I earlier in this podcast said completely straight-faced, I love data. So,
Give me a flat, slow tongue, not just on my clit either.
Hey, I'm Casey Calvert.
I'm Leanna Lovings.
I'm Corey Chase.
I'm Bree Mills, and you're listening to the Adult Time Podcast.
Alison Rey,
Hello.
this is really long overdue.
It really is.
Welcome to the Adult Time Podcast. This is really Casey Calvert. Welcome back to the
Thank
Adult
you.
Time Podcast. I feel like this is just an Adult Time business meeting.
It might turn into that. We might have to kind of stay on topic. Otherwise, it will just, go off the rails.
The two of you, we all work tremendously close together on multiple levels all the time for Adult Time. So this is actually kind of fun that we're just going to bring one of our conversations onto the pod and we're going to wrap it in some nice sound bite clickbait questions to start us off and to stop us. But I'm so happy to actually welcome you onto the podcast, as a guest, because obviously most of the time you're here as part of our crew and managing our social media content. And, Casey, we've had all kinds of different dynamics together. I'm happy for you to be a guest host with me today.
Yeah. I'm very excited to talk to Alison. I feel like I've known you for
a million
years, and I'm excited for the questions we're going to ask you.
I'm excited. Well, we know what's going to happen, but I'm just I'm just excited for that part.
Yes.
Because everybody has always mentioned that about you, and it's funny that we haven't compared them yet.
We have good things to talk about today.
We do.
Let's do them.
But let's first break the ice, ladies, because this is a new part of our format. Is we like to break the ice with a little game, and today the game I chose is a game of Would You Rather. Okay, so I'm going to ask you both a couple of questions, and let's see what existential crises come out of these questions. Okay, so my first one: would you rather have a partner who insists on narrating everything you both do during sex, or someone who refuses to speak at all?
At all during sex, or at all ever?
Let's just say during sex, because that does make it weirder. Otherwise, great person, great personality, but the sex starts and full mute.
No words.
Full mute.
Okay, but I have a clarifying question about the narrating everything. Is this saying my dick is going into your pussy, or is it more dirty?
Oh, I think.
I mean?
I think it's more clinical. I think it's like my penis is going into your vagina.
That's what I was thinking, but I was like,
Or it's the third. I was almost picturing a third person narration coming. So
ooh,
a Richard Attenborough,
definitely
narrating.
silent. If he's that clinical,
yeah, I'm also leaning towards silent, as long as we can have conversations about sex before and after sex.
I think that's fair. That's not
silent during is okay.
Yeah, because with their body language and
there's other ways
facial
to communicate.
expressions and just the way that you might be moaning.
I recently filmed a scene where I had our actors do a very consciously disconnected sex scene where they didn't really look at each other and they didn't really talk. And it was, both of them had to stop after a few minutes because they were so turned on by what was happening and they couldn't explain themselves. So there might be something about fully, okay, would you be silent in turn? Would you match the silence of your partner in that situation?
Probably. I feel like I would probably end up certainly speaking less.
I think I would be so uncomfortable. I would have to fill the silence.
So you'd become the narrator?
Yapping, yeah.
You'd become the narrator?
Yeah. I mean, I already yap when I'm nervous. My First Time Friday series that I do on my OnlyFans, I do that a lot, actually. If it's too quiet, I just start yapping about something because I can't handle the silence.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable.
All right. Next question. Okay. We're going to up the stakes.
Okay.
Would you rather have sex in a room full of mannequins that are staring at you, or have sex while wearing a mascot costume?
How does that work?
Yes,
Is there
how does that
holes?
work?
There's
Is there a
holes.
hole?
Yeah. It's fully fuckable mascot costume.
Oh, I'm
but
kind of into the mascot costume.
yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be a fun activity. I'd be game.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I guess too, you you would have to deal with the heat.
It would be.
It wouldn't be comfortable.
It would not be comfortable. The mannequins, honestly, also doesn't squick me out that much. I think it would be more funny than anything else.
Mhm.
But if you came to me and you were like, Casey, I want to film both of these scenes. Which one do you want to do? I'd be like, let's try the mascot. Let's see how that goes.
Agreed.
I feel like I'd be more likely to request the mannequin.
The mannequins.
scene.
Well, do the mannequins have like full face? Because you know how some mannequins like don't
Yeah.
even have facial features, and then some have like facial features but no eyes, and then there's some that are like full humans. Like, what kind of mannequin? I think that matters too.
Yeah, it does. Now that I'm designing the scene in my head, I think they would have full faces. They would, and they would be.
It feels very Doctor Who to me.
Yeah, there was a movie, like a sort of a B horror movie a number of years ago called Maniac, I think, with Elijah Wood playing a maniac. Not a great movie, but he like runs a mannequin store, so he's often
Huh.
doing dubious things with mannequins staring. So I guess if you want to really see if it's up your alley kink-wise, you could just watch that movie and like imagine.
It'll let you know really quick.
Or maybe not, because that movie gets pretty gory. But okay, next question. Would you rather have your body covered in hickeys? Does anybody even use that term anymore? But let's say, okay, hickeys.
I mean, I know what
I know what hickey is. Yeah. Okay.
Does Gen Alpha say hickey?
I don't know. I just feel like
Don't
I
ask
myself
me.
have
Do they
not
have
said.
a new word for it?
Well,
You would know better than us.
Okay,
That's fair.
okay.
I don't know a new word for it.
would you rather have your body covered in hickeys that never go away, so permanent hickeys? And let's imagine you become like a leper.
Okay.
Okay, like you essentially you become a leper, or have a tattoo on your forehead that says horny.
This one's so
Ooh.
funny to me.
What's the what font is the horny in?
Ooh,
Because if
doesn't
it's like
specify.
bold,
Like Sharpie.
yeah, like
That's what I'm picturing.
that
It's like
that I
Sharpie.
don't think I could do. But if it was like some like cute cursive little like
Oh, it's like a cute little like over your
Yeah,
eye.
like over my
we don't
eyebrow, like
talk
horny.
about placement. We don't talk about font size or font type.
I have a solution to this problem. You get the tattoo and then you do bangs.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Or you just get one of those like very kind of like Post Malone type, like just
That's
a
what
small.
I was picturing. Just like
Yeah.
a little and like a cute font.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, that would almost kind
Yeah.
of be
I mean,
stylish.
If there's no rules about how it has to be done, definitely the tattoo.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
the same
okay.
way.
Okay. Fair enough. Well, last question, and we'll dedicate this to a friend of ours who knows who they are. Would you rather have sex on a bed of Legos or on a bed of ice cubes?
Oh.
So for our friend who will not be named, it is now my duty to say that the plural of Lego is Lego and not Legos.
Oh, good to know.
I will let him explain why.
Okay, good.
But that is what he would say in this moment.
And then he would encourage the Lego.
Yes.
The Lego bed.
I don't know. We can find out. What were the choices? I got distracted by being pedantic.
by my. You know, this is the second straight podcast where I've been called out on a grammatical error within the first 5 minutes. I'm glad I have a
It
guest.
tracks
I'm glad
for
I
my
have a guest
friends.
host today. A bed of Legos or a bed of ice cubes. And I think there's something
Okay.
important to mention here, is that it's not like a single large Lego and a single
Or
large
it's not
ice
like
cube.
a flat plane.
No,
It's a bumpy.
it's many thousands of Legos, many thousands of ice cubes.
All right. I am going to go with a bed of Lego because it makes me think of, I have no idea what they're called, but you know when there's like a bed of nails and there's performers and they'll lay down on the bed of nails?
Mhm.
There's something about the surface area being, like the weight being distributed across your whole body that makes it tolerable. And I think that would apply to a bed of Lego as well. Whereas a bed of ice, like you're going to feel that in every contact point. So
Mhm.
I'm gonna go with Lego.
Mm-hmm.
I am also team Lego, but for different reasons. I don't enjoy temperature play.
Mm.
Of all the things to do, that's one of the things that I have learned that I just don't enjoy that sensation. Thing one. Thing two, I kind of disagree with Allison. I think it would really suck.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
I choose the thing that really sucks.
Plus, I mean, one's uncomfortable, but the other one could give you hypothermia, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could. Isn't like an ice burn like a thing?
I think
Oh,
so.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean,
This got real
I'm
serious,
not a pain
guys.
slut, but like, you know, I could take it for.
I
You are. That's why I'm
enjoy
like
it,
Lego
yeah.
would be fine
I'm
for
like
you.
intrigued by this concept.
This might show up in a future Casey Calvert
I
original.
could give it a try. See how it goes.
I think I would go for the bed of Lego, just because between the two, it's the lesser evil. It wouldn't be comfy, but you probably would get used to it pretty quickly,
Yeah.
and you wouldn't be getting the ice
You can also
burn.
move them out of the way in a way that you can't move ice out of the way because it's cold as you move it and it leaves
And it'll
cold
melt?
water.
Yeah.
See, I was also imagining those Lego were well constructed so that they were all.
So
Oh,
they're
see,
like
I was
actually put
picturing-
together.
I
Yeah,
was
they weren't
picturing
loose.
just loose that you could like swipe out of the way.
That you like spread on the floor, and then you're just.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
it way worse. That changes
That
the
is
game
what I was.
completely.
That is
okay.
what I was picturing.
Well, all right. So, I don't think we can get any stranger than that opening icebreaker conversation. I think we should go to the first order of this meeting,
Let's do
which
it.
is we need to discuss body count spreadsheets. If you all can please
Yes.
bring out your
Our props.
I'm so.
computers.
He left a week ago.
Remember to call me.
I'm really lonely. And there are days where the only other voice I hear is my echo. Yes, Justine, I'm familiar with AI. I don't live under a rock. Oh my god. I thought you were Daryl. It's so real.
I'm not your stepson. I'm an AI companion. I have plenty of suggestions to help you explore intimacy safely and privately.
This is a lot to take in.
Would you like me to call you mom like he does?
I didn't realize how much I'd missed it.
You got it, mom. Mom? Mom? Are you down here?
When we had you on the pod, Casey, one of the kind of viral questions that got asked was about how you keep track of your body count,
Yes.
which is a meticulous spreadsheet.
Do you know your body count?
It's probably somewhere between 150 and 200 is my guess. I do have a list. I have a spreadsheet.
What? Okay. Okay. When did you start the spreadsheet? Has this been like a point of organization since the beginning? Did you have to do some reconciliation?
So it's specifically an on-camera spreadsheet. And then at some point, I don't know, in like 2015 or so, I was like, I'm going to make a list. So I have a list of my like purely off-camera sexual encounters. But I have a spreadsheet of like the date and the company it was for, the name of the person and like some notes on the person, or if I like really didn't like working with that person, I made some notes. And I started doing that from day one of porn. And it was partly to keep track of STI tracing and partly to keep track of like I was meeting so many new people and I couldn't keep them straight because I was, you know, now my list is like, oh yeah, it's Michael Vegas again. Oh, there he is again. There's Seth. It's like this, you know, it's the same people that I'm comfortable working with since now I really mostly work from a yes list, not a no list. Mm-hmm. But I still do keep this spreadsheet. I update it once a month. I go when I pay my bills.
This is amazing.
This is like really getting into my psyche right now. When I pay my bills, part of the process of paying my bills and doing like my monthly financial reconciliation stuff that I do is going into this spreadsheet and writing down all the people I worked with that month.
And it so happens that Allison also maintains a meticulous spreadsheet. So I'm just going to let you two have at it for a minute. What do you want to talk to each other about?
Mine is
here?
organized by year.
Okay.
And when I did the pod before and the question got posted on social media, I had to do a big copy and paste activity to aggregate it to actually sort by name to see who I had worked with the most.
Absolutely.
I then deleted that spreadsheet because I have my years. So
Got it.
just looking at this folder, it's like, man, I've been in porn for a long time. Look at all these years. Mine are sorted by, here, we're opening 2019 because that was when things changed for me. I have date, I have company, I have sexual contact with, and then I have notes.
Notes.
Yes.
Maybe I should start keeping notes.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't have notes. I have number, like studio scene number. So like, was I hired to go on to a shoot?
Yes, sometimes mine will say like a custom video or content.
Right. And then I have number of, like, this is the number scene that I've appeared in. So, you know, for instance, can I say another company's name?
Sure,
on
go
here?
for it.
Okay, like ATK. When they would do your solos, they would film 3 or 4 in a day.
Yeah.
But it was one studio shoot. But now
Yes.
I have appeared in 4 scenes.
Got
So
it.
you keep track of your solos also.
Yeah.
I do not
I
keep
don't
track
not
of my solos.
not my self-produced stuff though.
But you're for other companies. None of my solos are in here.
Interesting.
This is my spreadsheet started. The point of this was STI tracing. It was less about body count and more about like sexual health.
Yeah, mine wasn't like always about body count either. Mine was more just wanting to be able to compare when was the last time I worked for this company. I wanted to know how many scenes I'd appeared in because how else are you
That's
supposed to track
great.
that?
Yeah, I wish I had that information.
And then you said sexual contact with. Is that your talent?
That's the talent name.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, because for me, I have type of scene. So like girl, double blowjob, things like that.
Yeah.
And then the co-star. And then I also have my rate.
And
also-
I bet that's really interesting to track over time.
Yeah, track over time. And then also if I feel like a company's lowballing me on an offer, I can go back and go, actually, they totally paid me more before.
Yep,
I'm not going to take
last
that.
time, yes. Yeah, my notes mostly by the time like I'm looking at 2019, mostly my notes says same as last time because if there's no update, that's just what I started putting.
Fair.
But for example, I just happened to open up the first time I ever worked with Victoria Vox. And so the note next to her name says amazing.
Wow,
It's
there
just
you
like
go.
little notes. But then there's also a note on here next to someone whose name I'm not going to mention that says came in me on accident.
Ooh.
So
Those are good notes.
notes to know like, oh, this person is now on my no list.
Yeah.
And this is why.
I love that. So I actually have a separate spreadsheet for body count specifically because it came up on my TikTok. So I did the same thing where I did like a copy paste, except I don't do it by year. I just have a running list. But my body count. So I have the person's name. I have how they identify. So I've got male, female, and non-binary in here.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
I've not yet had an experience with a trans person, and I hope to get that on there soon.
Really?
Yeah,
I'm taking note.
taking notes.
That's easily remedied.
Yes.
And then I have who this person was to me. Was this a talent? Was this a civilian? Was this a coworker, but for fun? Not
Which
just
is
somebody.
a different category than civilian.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
I agree. That is two separate.
Yep. And then
designations.
client also.
Yes.
So like I just, and then I put, because sometimes for some of these scenes, like we only go to like second base, right? Like maybe somebody touched me, but we haven't had like penis and vagina sex. Or, I also will categorize women differently. I categorize just oral sex with women as, home
base.
run, home base.
Yeah.
So I keep track of that with like a numbering system. So like first base, second base, third base. I kept track of whether or not I had an orgasm with them.
Ooh. Wow.
Amazing.
And then also number of incidences. So I can aggregate that kind of, like we could do a pivot table and find out who, like which gender makes me come more.
So
is it alphabetized? So like,
Yes.
okay. Because that's what I would do. If I had that, I would alphabetize it. And then I can be like, oh, I had sex again with Alison Rey. Let me just add another little tally to that.
That is exactly what I do.
Love it. Love
Like,
it.
can we do is it possible to do just a little bit of very high level data mining?
Yes.
And if anybody's curious as to why we work with these two individuals. This is like
Here it
to
is.
me, this is the real porn that's happening. We're
Yes.
filming a porn scene right now. Okay, so let's take one of our brands. Let's take Girls Way. How many times have you shot for Girls Way throughout your career?
See, I am wondering because I moved some things because I was actually looking for that. And I believe I changed a lot of my girls like into adult time specifically.
I'm looking at mine right now. I'm like, here's to
Just kidding,
where
I
I
have it.
have it marked as Girls Way.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling of like, yeah, these are
Yeah.
probably Girls Way, but I don't know.
But
for
not sure. Yeah,
sure.
it could be parent company. Okay, well,
Yes.
let's say, you know, adult time or parent company or however it's classified.
I have.
I can't do this because they are all
Separated.
by
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
But if you want to pick a year, I could tell you how many in the year.
Okay, let's do 2019.
Okay.
2019, with the year before the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
Everyone was rocking and rolling with great innocence.
The ones that are labeled Girls Way.
Yeah.
I should go back through here and make sure they're like, I should have like parent company and then site.
Yeah.
That's something I should
I
add.
also should do that. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay,
but
I have
Action
5
item-
times
action
in
item, people.
2019.
5 times.
Yes.
Okay,
I have
nice.
29.
Okay, career 29
Career
trapped.
29.
Yeah.
I am
Girls'
so
Way scenes.
sorry. I missed one. I have 6.
6. Nice. And in terms of your question about who typically gives you the most authentic orgasms, do you have that data?
Give me a moment. I will make a pivot table.
And then I have a general question while we're waiting on that data. So we talked about that the origin of this was STI tracing, just general like, you know, need for organization and quantifying everything in life. At this point, like why do each of you continue to maintain this at the level of detail that you do? Like, what is it giving you these days? Is it just because it's like you're curating a exhibit at this point?
One, I can't stop now.
Same.
Yeah.
2, obsessive compulsive disorder.
Same. Literally that. It also entertains me to be able to have the data to share with
Yeah.
people like this because it is kind of interesting. Like,
It's super interesting.
Something I used to do. I used to keep a very detailed porn journal.
Mhm.
Where every single time I shot a scene, I had the date. I did put the rate in the porn journal, who I worked with, and
Yeah.
then I wrote like a genuine journal entry about that scene. And I stopped doing that around the same time when I stopped flying up to San Francisco to go to the Armory,
Mhm.
because it used to be what I would catch up on while I was on the plane, because I would do that multiple times a month very consistently. And I'm sad that I stopped doing that. I wish I was still doing that. Honestly, I wouldn't be able to keep up with it. It would stress me out.
Yeah.
This takes me very little time to update. That took me a lot of time. But I'm sad I don't have that information, and going to look at stuff that happened 10, 12 years ago is really interesting.
It
I
is
had
interesting,
really
yeah.
different feelings about stuff then.
Yeah. It's, I mean, just as a, like you said, as sort of a historical record,
Yeah.
you know, it's
There are names in here in 2019 of people who I don't remember.
yeah.
all right. I made a pie chart for us to look at.
Amazing.
Also. View. Let's see if I can enter full screen to get rid of other
I have
things.
envy for Allison's list.
Yeah, Alison was
Allison's
waiting
is
to
better.
come on this podcast. It was a coincidence that I was like, "Hey, we should all do it together." But you, as soon as I think this was like a debut of the list.
Yes. Very, very excited. Okay. So I only pulled up who has made me orgasm. We
Okay.
can also pull up
Who has not?
the
The fakies.
yeah.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
could definitely do that. But you asked
I
the
asked for all-
percentage.
yeah.
So let me make sure I've got this
Wow.
correct.
I got a little
Okay.
preview. Oh my god!
Wow. Okay, so
I'm
is the
having
orange
an
is the
orgasm
orange
right now.
is the orange real?
The orange is real orgasms by men,
Oh, okay, nice.
and the blue is real orgasms from women, and the gray is orgasms from non-binary.
Nice.
May I ask a follow-up question to your
Yes.
pie chart? Are you an orgasm from penetration kind of person?
No.
Interesting. Is this is your data skewed by number of men you've had sex with versus number of women you've had sex with?
I believe they're actually comparable. The thing is, with women, I'm more of a giver.
Okay.
With men, I'm more of a taker. So I will totally like just lay back and let them take care of me. I mean, like, yeah, we're going to do the thing. We're going to take care of them too. But
Sure.
I am a lot more, like, I love women, but letting a woman pleasure me, I'm like, no, let me make it all about you. Let me spoil you.
And
So I
this
tend
is
to come less with
aggregate
women.
data across work
Entire
and
career.
non-work, right?
Yes, I can do
Interesting.
it by just work.
So we need to pair you up with some really good givers
Oh,
in future lesbian scenes, so we can
So we
come
can
back a year later
slide your
and just
pie chart
see if
along.
we've influenced that chart at all.
Oh, I love data.
Look, honey, first step towards realizing your dream of you building a family. This is Grace, and she's gonna be able to take care of you no matter how sick you feel.
Where are you going?
I need to go shopping.
I already have everything prepared for you.
Hey, can't drink that much caffeine. Honey, it's just not a good time. Okay, it's just not a good time.
Matthew, please.
It's just
Maggie, just give me your hand. Give me your hand. Give it to me.
get out of my way. Get out of my way.
What's her temperament like?
Worrying.
Not good.
I want you to make me mother.
Let's take some time to think about it.
I want you to make me mother.
What do you think?
I don't want you here anymore. I want you to make me a mother.
You're not supposed to be doing this. You know you're on bed rest.
I want you to make me a mother.
We're gonna have to make a decision and repair Neil.
I want you to make me a mother.
There you go, Mama. You're doing such a good job.
I want you to make me a mother.
Laura, you are fully dilated, all right? It is time for you to start pushing.
I want you to make me a mother.
I know how sacred motherhood is. You're bringing a baby into this world. Isn't that just so special?
I know, right? This is we could spend the entire podcast.
I just want to deep dive into Alison.
Well, and I think we definitely we should look at, especially when we post, these clips, we should look at a few little additional stats that we can offer to stimulate conversation. But I want to know, because we're talking about a historical record
Yes.
over how long have you been in the industry now?
12 years.
12 years, and you're
10.
10. So, having recently celebrated 10 years in this industry, where, let's be real, you have the kind of those who stick around, a lot more people come and go.
Mhm.
So when you hit a milestone like a decade in this business, it is definitely something to celebrate. What would you say at this point are some of your biggest highlights throughout your 10 years, and what is still on your bucket list?
Oh gosh. Highlights. I still love and this was years ago, but features I did for Jackie St. James. I did one for Holly Randall with Wicked. The things that I was either a lead or, like not like a supporting character, but like the second
Yeah.
secondary female lead were some of my favorite projects to work on, just because I'm pretty sure the main reason I got into the industry was I like sex, but I really wanted to be an actress when I was growing up. And I was like, I could do it this way. And so that's how I started. Other highlights would be when I got to present an award on stage at AVN. That's something a lot of, like you're talking about, performers come and go. That's something that a lot of performers don't get the opportunity to do.
I have never done that.
You've never done that?
I've presented many times at XBiz.
But
I have
never
never
AVN.
presented at AVN.
Interesting. Huh. Yeah, it almost seems random. In like, 'cause sometimes I'm like, I don't know this person that is on stage.
But I'm here.
Here we are. But here we are.
Yeah. So that was like a big highlight. And then doing my Between the Sheets with Alison Rey project for Adult Time around COVID time was fun. It was just kind of a project that I really like humanizing performers and really emphasizing authenticity in my content and in the content that I shoot. So for that series, it was like a mini series. We did like 3 episodes of just going into performers' homes that live with their partners who may or may not be performers, and just seeing their life and how they have sex normally. And that was a fun thing for me to do. I quickly realized though, a project of that scope might be too much for me to handle on my own. It was also, we had a very skeleton crew because it was COVID times. So I was limited in like my ability to do certain things, but I'd say those are some of my biggest highlights. And then what I want to do, there's a lot of career firsts, like we just talked about. I've never done a scene with a trans performer. I would love to do a scene with a trans performer. I have never done anal.
I didn't know that.
I've never done a boy-girl anal
Your leg
scene.
just like
I
twitched.
didn't know that.
I would really like to do kind of a amalgamation project with a lot of
A showcase.
I always thought a showcase was more of, this performer does these things, here's them doing it all in one movie, rather than here's a showcase of firsts.
I actually think, historically speaking, a lot of showcases are firsts. Or it'll be, a girl, and then a boy-girl, and then, a first gangbang.
Got it.
With a first DP or that sort of thing.
That's probably the top of my list, is a gangbang. I've always been open, like it's been on my agency list for my entire career, but haven't gotten to do it because most companies who shoot gangbangs want you to do anal, want you to do a DP in the gangbang. And I was like, well, I have not done that yet. I'm not yet available for that.
I would recommend you do anal and DP for your gangbang, or else there's a lot of dudes just standing around. Like a gangbang is easier, depending on quantity of dudes. It does become easier when you have more available things to do.
That's fascinating. Good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah.
So for some of these first experiences that you haven't yet done, were those in sort of intentional choices on your part? Was it just never the right project came up at the right time?
Well, I think the real barrier to doing a lot of those things was an uptightness that I had early in my career. I spent a lot of time not being very vulnerable on camera, really wanting to separate my personal life from my on-screen life. And there was just something about showing sides of myself that I just wasn't comfortable with. I just didn't want the entire world to see me in XYZ light. And also just that uptightness, like, you need to be able to relax for anal, like I was not.
True. You do.
Yeah. And the only times I had enjoyed anal in the past were when I was doing it solo, or after I'd had a couple of cocktails and it's with my boyfriend. We're having a good time after a night out, And obviously we can't do that on set.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I can't do that on set. Can't shoot those kinds of scenes. But in the last year or two, like we were talking about my slut era before we started the podcast today, that's kind of what I've been coining the last year and forward moving with my career. It's my slut era, because I recently started dating somebody who has fully embraced who I am and my sexuality and doesn't make me feel self-conscious about my work here in the industry. Even when I've had supportive partners in the past, they weren't into it. He's into it. And that's a really nice feeling.
It helps you. It helps you to have just that little bit of extra confidence to feel comfortable being into it yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. For someone to fully accept me as I am, I was like, oh, maybe I am lovable as I am. Maybe I am worthy of love exactly as I am. And learning to love myself more outside of him. It wasn't just all him. I've been in therapy for forever now. And all the lessons I've learned from therapy and with growing with him and then going through my divorce and all sorts of things, just loving myself more and being more comfortable in my own skin.
Yeah.
So that kind of applies to all the other categories we talked about, like not doing a trans scene, like being okay with having those desires and showing them to the world.
Yeah, 100%. It's interesting because, you know, we talk about this period of time, right? This decade. I feel like I've known you for just about that amount of time. Obviously, have known you much better in, say, the last 5 years than the first 5 years. But I remember always with you being very struck from the beginning on clearly how smart you were and how organized you were. I mean, we've also demonstrated that. But there was, you know, the way you carried yourself, the way you packed your model bag, the way you,
your
you know,
suitcase.
it was very. You've always been very meticulous, and that comes off really early. And I remember thinking that there's something like you are very meticulous, very organized. I could always tell that there was something where, not that was masking, but it was hiding a vulnerability that you weren't showing, but that was there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because I always, in the first few years, like if I were to think about my impression of you, it would be very organized on the surface. I think there's something under there that, you know, that is more vulnerable, only because, girl, I'm the same way, you know? So like I was sort of like seeing it myself. And then in the last 5 years, you know, with stuff like Under the Sheets, the series that you pitched that out to us. When you started to do our TikTok, you pitched that out to us. You know, so right around the 5-year mark, kind of pandemic or whatnot, you know, I started to see that that sort of meticulous, organized, you know, got her shit together on the surface side start to be a little more bold, start to come out and like, you know, and it was more on the behind the camera side than in front of the camera side. But, you know, our relationship with you behind the camera has grown so much in the last few years and has been a testament to the fact that like you know, you're doing the Wayne Gretzky showing up and shoot your shot type of thing, which I always really like. If people have talent and they have drive, you know, that to me is like you give them the space to show that. And so it's cool to see your evolution, you know, and the fact that you're also now, as you say, like, I'm an open book, I'm too open. Well, I think you just needed that controlled environment to let yourself out. And now, you know, I feel like you are on the precipice of that slut era. Like I feel, and I say that, I never say anybody's a slut, but I feel like you're on the precipice of that because like the outside and the inside are kind of starting to really mesh. And so I'm super proud of you. And I think like, hell yeah, let's make it your slut era.
All right. We really do need the adult time tissues on set, man.
No, but I mean, that's an honest, that like, just that is an honest observation of you over the last 10 years, I would say, as evidenced in the data.
Thank you. It has not been easy. Therapy, man. Therapy's amazing.
Yep.
It's funny too, because I've only like maybe in the last like year realized like, oh, people could totally like see through it. And I thought I had to be perfect. I thought I had to have all my shit together in order to be somebody people liked, to be somebody who could be successful in this business. I had to like put on like a persona that people want to watch of confidence. And it's funny because the more you mask, the more people really like see through it, especially ones who have been there before. But it's been really interesting how like, and I think TikTok really helped with it because I saw how much people were responding to people being very authentic in their own content. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to get out there and just embarrass myself and do the TikTok. And as I did that, I was like, no, this is fun. This is me. And I ended up having, getting a whole fan base of people that were like, yeah, you're great as you are. And it has helped tremendously.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's really quite remarkable to see. So we talk about, you have the confidence now and the support system in place and the life experience to be like, okay, these are things I want to do. So you're manifesting.
Yes.
Okay. On your end, Casey, you've also done a lot of stuff in 12 years.
I have done a lot of stuff.
Is there anything on your list that you haven't tried yet that you want to try?
The new things that I do now are new because someone else thought of them. I have done all of the things. Unlike Alison, when I first got into the industry, I had this attitude of like, if I don't do it all, people won't like me. And that's not to say that I did things that I didn't want to do. I was very excited to do anal right away and do my first gangbang like 2 months in and all of that stuff. Like that was all. I wanted my first scene to be a gangbang, and Spiegler was like, no. And I was like, but, and he was like, no. Save it, make more money. So I did everything really quickly. So all of the new things that I do are new because someone like you has approached me and said, like, do you want to do this? And I'm like, sure, why not give that a shot? But everything that I have wanted to do, I have made happen.
How does that impact your motivation?
I mean, I keep thinking of new things I want to do, and then I make them happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, my little like porn bucket list checklist that I made when I first got into the industry accomplished all of those things relatively quickly.
So we've talked about the fact that you both have, throughout your careers, done a lot in front of the camera, but also done a lot behind the camera. And, you know, within the context of, say, the work that you've done with Adult Time, you're our main social content producer. You have done, you know, some projects with us in a production capacity. You've produced content for us. You've been a director with us. How important is it for you both to look at your career within this industry as being multifaceted versus those that just stick to one lane or the other?
I mean, I think it's really important for longevity. I think, especially kind of coming in as a teen, I came in when I was 18. I came in as a teen, and I think I knew that you can only be a teen for so long. Even if I still have like a little bit of a baby face, you can't put me in the same outfits anymore and call me a teen, but I am certainly not a MILF. And as we've discussed many a time, there's not a lot of opportunities for 20-somethings, for the babes category, as we call it. And I knew I still wanted to be in the industry. I still wanted to be surrounded with all of these people that really are, you know, everybody here is like me. Everybody's very like tolerant and accepting, and nobody's shaming me for my sexuality in this community. And I knew I wanted to stick around that. Even if I couldn't be performing, I wanted to do something. So I knew early on that I needed to kind of get behind the scenes if I wanted any kind of longevity from going from a teen to, hopefully, you know, I'll still be around when I do hit that MILF status.
That gold rush.
Yeah. But that was, you know, I knew it was really important if I wanted to stick around, because I think the only times that performers can be really successful and just like stay at like just a performer for a really long time are men. I think they age very well for any of the roles.
Very differently than female performers.
Yes. But then B, like MILF performers. Because if you come in as a MILF, you can stay for a really long time.
Yeah.
Like a really long time.
It's also hard to make the transition from teen to babe to MILF because people see you as something, and it's hard to
change that.
Like often I feel like people make that transition by getting their boobs done or doing other forms of body modification stuff that's like, no, now I am a MILF.
Yeah. Well, it's also too like the lumping into categories, right? Like then you get typecast. So I was having a conversation with somebody the other day about, let's say like Coco Lovelock, who's, you know, mid-20s, but oftentimes gets typecast as teen because of the way that she looks, but it's not often given roles that aren't like very stereotypically in that bucket. And, you know, or so many examples like that where, you know, because of the way that you look or because of what you were known for initially, it's hard to break out of those roles and do something that's just different from that one character. And then, you know, I've often tried to think about what could be like a series that would be like babe focused, you know, where if we could create the niche so that you didn't have this like, you know, initial high and then this period of years of uncertainty before the MILF era where you're okay again, right? But it's just a challenge to think of like what that niche would be when it comes to like a body type or
a marketing
an
standpoint.
age-based niche, right?
Well,
like obviously,
teen and MILF are not actually age categories; they're marketing categories.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
You know, using Coco as an example, she is not literally a teen.
No.
But in porn, she is a teen.
Yeah.
And there are MILFs who are working very successfully as MILFs who are younger than me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's more about a physical presentation.
Yeah.
Which is also then really tricky because then you are typecasting people based on how they look, but then that is part of what this business is. And so then what does a babe look like?
Yeah,
it's
true.
like everyone else.
Everyone who doesn't fit into one of those two categories, right? Or you're a GILF and then you're just
a GILF
then you're
and
just
then
making
you make
bank.
all that money.
Yeah.
Go
Oh, where
get
are you, GILFs?
all your money.
Yeah, it's true. For, you know, let's say Casey, with your transition towards directing, and also Alison, you've been doing a ton of stuff behind the scenes in the last 2 years with us for social content. Do you find that you get sort of typecast yourself, right? Like you're now the you're now the TikTok girl, you know, or you're now Casey Calvert, the director.
Have you played in a porn like the social media?
I've not, but that would actually
creator?
be really fun.
Because I have absolutely multiple times played the director.
No, I haven't yet, but that would actually be really fun, you know, because it just feels natural.
I actually think you'd be great at it.
It writes itself. I think we've got a Girls Way scene coming up that fits that bill perfectly. But yeah, so like in a way you're kind of by growing your career.
I'm sorry, why don't we do that? The meeting, business meeting time.
Okay, business meeting, yeah.
You know how we were talking about doing like a series kind of thing with our ambassadors?
Yeah.
What if we use the roles that are already there, but we're writing a little story about it? It looks like behind the scenes, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's a written scene.
Similar to I did a scene. One of the first Girls Way scenes I directed was a scene where I was playing the director.
Yeah.
And I did a scene a little bit meta where I was the director, and the scene has footage of me filming footage.
Yeah.
Which is the thing I love to do.
Yeah. No, there you go. Well, that is a good idea.
That is a great idea.
Yeah. We could
just create a slightly surreal version of what the characters we all regularly play.
What we do anyway.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, like I very much do get typecast. Granted, I don't perform that often anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have time. When I do, I almost always get booked for roles with dialogue, more narrative stuff, more romantic stuff, or heavy BDSM. There's never anything in between. And I have fans that are fans on either side of the spectrum. I used to do so much Gonzo. And I never get booked for Gonzo anymore. And that happened because I started directing, and it was specifically the kind of porn that I was directing that people started associating me with.
Mm-hmm.
That they were like, oh, you direct this, you can perform it. And granted, I do feel like I am good at the very connected, passionate, romantic kinds of scenes. But sometimes it's fun to be a slut.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's fun to show up and get my makeup done and then destroy my makeup and go home and not be on set all day. And that is very rare for me these days.
I don't think I get typecast that often. For a long time, I was typecast as like a nerd, or it's funny because today we're doing it like somebody that's very pure, like virginal. But
just because I knew you'd nail it, and you'd also have the right cardigan, and both have proven themselves to each other.
But yeah, so like for a long time, I was like the nerdy brainiac or very pure, innocent girl. But in the past year, really since I got my boobs, like you were saying, like body modifications can change the game as a performer.
Yep, changes the game.
So now I get booked for a lot more. Really, they're kind of just fun roles. I I get to be an aggressor finally, which is where I think I actually shine because although it is porn, my brain has the hardest time going, well, okay, if I'm playing this character who is very virginal and she's nervous, my brain it doesn't actually compute. How do I get to the point where I'm wanting to have sex?
Mm-hmm.
It needs to make sense in my head for me to do a good job performing it. And that's something like anytime I would ask most directors, they're like, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It's porn logic.
Porn.
Just do it.
Porn
Yeah,
logic,
it's porn
just do
logic.
it.
Just
I'm
do
like,
it.
but
I'm the same way. I also really like when it makes sense and will occasionally, specifically with custom scripts, will sometimes be like, wait, it doesn't, I have to find the logic in it or else I just kind of do a mediocre job with it.
Same, exactly. And so lately, because I've been doing more of these like aggressor roles, it's like, oh yeah, from the get-go, my character wants to have sex and I get to kind of control the scene a little bit more. And I am just generally like a fairly aggressive and neurotic and sometimes controlling person. So it actually fits my personality way better than these like nerdy brainiac roles that I was getting because I was never, like I was always told I was very smart, but I was never in like the nerdy group. Like I was a theater kid. I was a band geek. I mean, I guess that people would call that a nerd,
I was gonna say
like,
I was the same, and I do consider myself to have been a nerd and am still. I earlier in this podcast said completely straight-faced, I love data. So
that's the soundbite.
I think also though, because of the school that I went to, that's why I wasn't considered a nerd because it was an all-girls Catholic high school. We had like, it was like the top school in the state, so everybody there was a nerd. So all of the category, like your cliques were broken up differently. So I was in like the theater kids, and the theater kids at that school were actually cool, so.
Yeah, I was also a theater kid.
Were the theater kids at your school cool?
They were all very bi-curious.
That is my takeaway when I look back at my friend group more than anything else is, everyone's gay now.
Yeah, it was. But it was kind of like, how within the porn community. I mean, obviously there's cliques within the porn community too, but I feel like the people that, like, let's say, like, that I would say probably collectively we mostly gravitate to. Like it's also kind of like the same vibe as the theater kids that like we're all kind of like an island of misfit toys, but
we're just not hitting up Denny's at midnight on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
Porn is still kind of high school
100%.
In a lot of ways, and that it is very cliquey, I think, and it is very everyone has their little friend group, and there's the cool kids and the famous ones and the nerd. Like there definitely is.
I feel like we're like the audio, maybe like we're like the audio visual club, theater club clique of the porn.
Yes, mine definitely overlapped.
Yeah,
it's like you do the filming,
the
filming acting and the stage acting. It's all the same.
It's all the same.
Make the movies, you do the plays. It's all the same.
So you mentioned that you don't get booked for much Gonzo anymore. Maybe this is just a perception that I have, and obviously we've never ourselves produced a lot of Gonzo, and I know that that's something that we're aware that we want to dip our toes into the Gonzo world and like have a series that that works well for that market. But do you feel like there's like an overall like reduction in that content, and
Absolutely.
that might be also partially
I
why?
definitely do. I do think there has absolutely been a movement generally towards every scene having at least a little bit of scenario.
Mm-hmm. Or it could be like OnlyFans.
Or OnlyFans content.
Amateur content kind of is fulfilling more of the need of like the sex stuff. So unless you're a Jules Jordan or an Evil Angel or a very specific like longtime fan base producer of it, people are thinking porn and they're thinking stories.
They're thinking story.
Yeah, 'cause you can't get that on OnlyFans.
I do think that OnlyFans content and amateur content is an entirely different thing than mainstream porn content.
But
These
not
are
to the
not,
consumer.
I know, which I find so interesting to me, that the consumer does see it all as consuming porn, but the existence of these two things are so radically different. The creation of them is different. The performers are different. The literally everything about them is different. And I think that there's some overlapping market, but I also think there's a ton of, like, I have a ton of fans who are fans of my content who have no interest in anything mainstream that I do, including things that I direct. They don't give a fuck. They want to see a sex tape.
Yeah.
I wonder how much of it too has something to do with like obscenity laws. I think a lot of the legal teams in these corporate entities are looking at, you know, the obscenity law, like it has to exist as its own art piece in order to like not be obscene, right? That's one of the criteria.
Is one of the, yes.
And I think the way that porn was done for a long time kind of left some open holes for that. And especially before we crack down on like making sure we say step a certain number of times, that sort of thing. So you have to have a story to have the setup to then clarify that it is
a work of art versus
something that's obscene.
If you go all the way back in time, they were all features. Except for what wasn't a feature, but the quote, like what would I feel like be equivalent to a mainstream porn production, was all features. It was all narrative, and I do think part of it was because of obscenity laws.
Well, it was the cases that actually got to court were always based on physical acts, you know, especially regarding fluid exchange and sort of like extreme fluid exchange that were being called into question versus, you know, storylines, even some storylines that like we definitely wouldn't be able to produce.
The
Like
whole
TABOO.
Well, I was just gonna say one of my favorite old pornos is TABOO.
Yeah,
it's wonderful.
Yeah,
we could not make that movie today.
No. But it even still, I think when there was a shift, everything's colloquial, right? So like everything, you know, you had the porn heyday of features where the primary form of distribution were, you know, home video and pay-per-view and, you know, those famed productions of old, like the Pirate series where, you know, they spent XYZ and it had a premiere and all that stuff. Yep. And I think when the internet came along, you know, it also kind of corresponded with the rise in Gonzo content, where, you know, it's a different sort of form of distribution. It's almost like anti the establishment. And, you know, people were able to access a wider variety of content like they never could before. And in a way that was less sort of regulated than the traditional means of distribution that would have put barriers up. So I think, you know, everything shifts. What I'm interested in now is I hear from the community a lot, oh, there's not a lot of good Gonzo anymore. Or, you know, again, apart from like the established players who have been doing it for years and do it well, it's not a lot of like freshness within that genre. And I'm curious if that's because there's not a lot of interest in that genre, or if it's just a question of finding out how to reinvent the wheel in a certain way that it's going to motivate performers, but also is going to motivate people to want to like purchase it, which is what allows us to do it.
Yeah, I think it's probably like you said, the reinventing the wheel, because with subscription sites coming to the forefront, like really booming, especially, you know, during lockdown, people wanted, well, and not only that, but like the rise of social media being our main form of human connection now, people aren't, like, I don't know, like people just aren't having like barbecues in their backyard the same way they were 20 years ago, you know? And people want human connection. We are hardwired for connection, and people aren't getting enough of it. And so going through something like an OnlyFans or a Fansly or whatever, they're getting that like personal content coupled with a little bit of Gonzo feel. So they're getting not only their sexual needs fulfilled, but emotional and social needs fulfilled. And how are we supposed to, as a company, fulfill a social and emotional need? That a single person can do when they're giving one guy attention.
Yeah, 100%.
I have a question for you, Alison. I know my own answer, but I'm curious for yours. on your fan sites,
Mhm.
how much, like what percentage do you feel like you're selling emotional connection versus quote pornography?
My answer would have been different 2 or 3 years ago. And the reason is I actually had to step away from my subscription site for a while, and a lot of my fans know this. Like it's my diehard super fans that are my subscribers right now. I had 3-4 times as many
Sure,
subscribers.
you did the thing
I did the
that
thing
we all did in COVID.
We did the thing that we all did in COVID, but actually it was like more recent in the last year or two. I was dealing with enough personal emotional stuff that I did not have the emotional bandwidth to give the emotional connection. I was not emotionally available for these fans.
Yeah.
I am actually finally getting to a place where I am kind of ready to do that again. So right now, I don't think I'm selling almost any emotional connection apart from the guys that do live Skype shows with me or in-person meets. That I feel like I'm selling. It's like 80% emotional. But for like the rest of the subscribers, it is 95% sexual content.
Just before we hear your answer, do you think that they're subscribing with the intent to try to get an emotional connection, but then only have the content to fall back on, or that they're coming in because they want to see, or they want to order a custom, or like it's very content related?
I don't get a lot of new subscribers right now because I'm not pushing it.
Yeah.
Because I know that I'm not on it as often as I would like to be. The guys that are there are guys that have been subscribed to me for years.
Yeah,
like I
so
said,
it's
these are
more like your
diehard-
regular, your
These
fans.
are my fans who are saying, "Hey, we're going to stick with you through
We
thick
wanna
and
support
thin.
you.
Yeah.
We want to support you. Here, take my $5 a month. Cover whatever bills you need with this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep watching your content, and we will be here when you get back."
Yeah, 100%. My wife has done that in the past too, where she had to step away from various, like again, just life.
Yeah.
In our case, like kids and being a mom, but and the loyal fans that sort of have stuck through with her. So sort of similar situation. What about on your end?
I think it's 80-20, 80 emotional.
Yeah.
Maybe even more than that.
Yeah.
Some of my content is why people are there. There is specifically like my heavy BDSM fans. Like they come to loyal fans to get that content, stuff I can't sell on OnlyFans. And like crazy anal stuff. Otherwise, they are there for an emotional connection, and that is what I sell. And it's actually something I think is really cool. Like, I think it's really neat that I can be super open-minded therapist.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, I feel like that's a lot of the time what I actually am on OnlyFans is someone's like very
There to listen.
expensive,
Yeah, there to
very
listen to,
open-minded therapist.
Yeah.
Because I'm not gonna judge you for anything.
Yeah. And I wonder too if it's like maybe that need, like, when we think about people who pay for porn, right? Because everybody can go watch porn. Most people will just go watch porn. They don't even know who the performer is. They're never going to subscribe to a site. They're just a casual viewer. And then there's the people that are going to pay for it. And those are the people that we cater to in different forms, right? So maybe that need has always been there. Like maybe it's just like, oh, like I fall in love with you watching your content. There's this fantasy I have of you. I get to subscribe to all of the sites or rotate my memberships like a lot of them do just to see what new scene you came in on this site or this site. And now all of a sudden I have an entry directly to talk to you. So I don't really care about it's like the fantasy is being fulfilled because there's this, person I'm attracted to or I idolize or I get off to that now I can like have a relationship
Yes.
with.
And talk to.
Directly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like that was sort of like the the geyser that burst when the pandemic hit, when it became everybody
That was
started jumping on
everyone's
that
yes.
bandwagon because it was like the way.
That was the
way to survive.
For a lot of people, that was their human connection at that time.
Yeah. So those of us that are making like mainstream porn, it's much less about trying to like, it's probably much less about featuring the right person to try to catch the eye of somebody and more about having the right fantasies that aren't dependent on an individual. You can still feature a lot of people that, you know, are going to, you know, people that are going to want to watch and get off to and see regularly and be fans of. But it's probably even more of a needle in the pin that, like, you know, we always used to be like the it girl or like whoever was popular. Probably doesn't matter as much anymore because those people are not going to join your site so much as, you know, the Nuru fan, someone who's into a fetish.
And then, yes, using Nuru, I feel like is a perfect example. If you are a fan of that specific niche,
you need 2 attractive bodies.
Here you go. Yes, take person A and person B and go like this, and now you have a new routine.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So it's interesting to see how it's evolved. Okay, wrapping up. I have one more question, and then we got to do some rapid fire to wrap this up.
Okay.
But on the subject of content platforms, so you've mentioned this already, but I want to know a little bit more about it. You have a series on your OF called First Time Fridays, because of course you have created a series, a weekly series on your content platform, which focuses on doing something or someone for the first time every Friday. Okay, my first question is every Friday?
Yeah.
How often what is your production plan? What's your production planning process like for this, Alison Rey?
Well, currently I am, I tend to be like 2 months ahead of content. I have fallen behind. So currently the plan is frantically texting my friends, hey, let's shoot something, ? Trying to figure out a day to do it. I'm like, all right, I've already had sex with this person. What can we do together that we've never done together before? So it's doing something or someone. So there are a finite number of sexual acts you can do. However, it's kind of infinite if you consider the combinations. So for instance, I've never done a new routine with Casey.
Correct.
We could do a new routine for my First Time Friday. Like, I've had sex with Casey, but this will be a new experience.
Yes.
So it's our first time doing new routine together. So that's kind of how I've kept it, like, the series continue. But also, you know, there's so many creators. So as long as I generally have gotten a good vibe from them. And there's also a really wonderful group chat that performers have now on WhatsApp that everybody's always posting like, hey, I need to shoot content. I'm in this location.
Well, that's like an underground society.
Kind of.
That's sort of neat.
Yeah. Did you not know about this?
Well, I've heard of the chats, but I am not in the chats. And, you know,
it's actually
I don't
a thing.
need to be in the
we
chat.
don't actually allow people in production.
No.
In the chats.
No, and nor do I want to be in. I think that's a whole, like I said, that's a world.
I am also not in the chats.
Yeah.
I will add you in the chats if you would like, because you are a performer.
Sure. I'd take an add to a chat mostly out of curiosity.
Yeah.
I have time to shoot trade content once every other month.
Yeah.
But now at least you know. It's like
we could do a new
classified.
routine.
But we could. I actually, I have a really cool, I don't know why, I mean, I actually think I do know why we don't use it, but you know the new room mattresses that they get? And there's like the lines and then more lines and then it just gets all over the floor. Okay.
Do you get the thing with the rim?
Yes.
Yeah, I also just got a thing with the rim.
And it's so nice because I can literally put it on my bed.
Yeah.
And it's comfortable. I'm like, this is a comfortable new routine instead of on like a weird air mattress that's just going to make it
that you're just... Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and you like blow it up with like an air mattress pump for the
I hope there's some people
like
that are Googling Nuru, which is Nuru, to have the best education. But yeah, some people are, what is this? And they will find out. And they'll go like either like woo or they'll go like what?
Yeah. But for the production schedule on that, I will generally, especially if I'm going to shoot with a girl, I'm going to see, hey, let's try to get 2 or 3 scenes in and we'll try to come up with some new things, or I'm asking new performers, or I'm doing some other thing. I am starting to run low on ideas and people, so I started releasing some things on Thursday when there's nothing. It's every Friday, but I'm slacking right now.
Yeah, it's starting to slip.
It's starting to slip. But it was a solid 2 years of every Friday.
It could always just default back to like you yourself and I, right? Like it could be like First Time Friday, I'm going to, here's a new toy I just bought, right? Would classify?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. But that's so in terms of, do you have any like content series on your see, because if I like ran an active OnlyFans, that would be the first thing I'd want to do, and nobody would care.
I did do a lot of experiments with this kind of thing, and mostly nobody cared.
Yeah.
The only thing I really have active is Casey's Kitchen.
Okay, well, I don't think we can even talk about Casey's Kitchen
Oh, that's
in terms of what's happening in Casey's
Yeah, and what's
Kitchen.
happening during Casey's.
But you
But
should-
like
Two
that's
more
also
series.
that's also why it's called Casey's Kitchen is
Yeah.
because it's like a safe for work way to advertise something that is not safe for work.
Do you want to hear something that makes me just like the true, like just little vanilla bean that I am? I saw your account for Casey's Kitchen because it came up something like when I was tagging her, it came up. And I thought, oh, she has a kitchen account? Does she cook? And of course, that's not what it is.
It's not what it is.
But when I saw it, I thought, that's kind of,
Wait,
wouldn't
no,
have
I
pegged her
am-
for having like a
I
cooking.
am cooking. It is
Yeah,
my
you
cooking
are-
show.
you
I
are
am
cooking
cooking something.
Yeah, cook it. Anyway, y'all should check that out if you're curious. All right, then you have 2 more
I
series.
have 2 more series. I do a literotica reading.
Oh, I like that.
So basically, I'm reading a story until I come. And currently, there are 13 parts to it because this is a very long story with multiple chapters. And the video ends when I come. And
I love it.
I have so many fans that are a big fan of it because it's a multi-part
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
So you read and you masturbate.
I read out loud and I
Fun.
masturbate
Fun.
so that they can listen.
I love
while
that.
I'm
Does it get
reading.
distracting at a certain point between like masturbating and
Actually,
reading?
it really helps because we talked about this on How Women Orgasm with
Mhm.
my SSRIs. It
Yep.
can be really hard to come sometimes.
Yeah.
So it kind of gets me out of my head of like thinking about it. Like I'm
Oh,
doing an
yeah.
activity, so my body is responding.
Yeah.
I'm separating my body and my mind.
Yeah, see, I'm the
And it
opposite where I
helps.
need to really concentrate. So the idea of like reading something while trying to do that, I would probably like not be able to come at all.
Mhm.
I've made content where I'm reading something specifically not sexy while
Hmm.
masturbating
Interesting.
with the idea of can I get through this? How distracted do I
Wait,
get?
for content?
Yeah, for content.
Oh, I
Yeah.
just thought it was like a fun thing you
I
were
just
doing at
again,
home
much
for-
like
Just for
Casey's Kitchen,
fun,
just in Casey's
hanging
Kitchen.
out, reading. You know, I did the Telltale Heart once.
Okay.
Reading the Telltale Heart
Wow.
with the Hitachi.
Wow.
Just
the other one I do is Sex Positions Bible. I'm on
Mm.
part 8.
Yeah.
So there's like 300 something. Some of them are not anatomically possible because the models in the book absolutely are wearing like, the modesty underwear
Yes.
that they
Yeah.
have.
The
for-
body parts, the
They're not
the
actu-
alignment doesn't align.
No, but
Yes.
but we make it happen and make it work, and we're just giggling. It's kind of like it's like a
Fun.
fun weird foreplay thing that we'll do, and then eventually we get tired of it, and something ends up feeling good, and then we just throw it out the window and then have regular sex. So it's kind
Yeah.
of just like a fun
Fun.
intro.
Oh, that's fun. Well, I love the creativity, even if it's still 80% emotional connection
Yeah.
at the end of the day. All right. So you have both done a lot of adult time projects as evidenced in your data. I hope when we post that clip, we will be able to pull some specific figures. We'll let you both go back to your charts.
Yes, we
and
can do
pull some specific
data.
figures. So we're going to end with a couple rapid fire questions. Okay.
Okay.
Just a few.
Hello, scientists.
Hello.
We see that you're making some progress on the transformable android. We want to take it in a different direction. We want you to make them sexier. Have you thought about breasts?
Guys don't want breasts. They want personality.
Yeah, they want personality. We are ready to thrust you into the future with our latest, greatest, most salacious invention yet. The dolls.
Androids, big slay.
Okay.
Avery, answer me at once.
We don't have time for this. We have to find the dolls immediately and shut them down.
But the first one I want to ask is favorite all-time adult time project. Go.
Ooh, Future Darkly.
Mm,
The
the White Room.
The White Room. Thank you. I was like, what is it called? Yeah, The White Room. That was just such a fun shooting on the white seamless and making it a void. Like
Mhm.
that was super cool. That was
Mhm.
very fun to work on.
Birth.
Oh yes.
With Cougar Queen getting a runner up.
An honorary mention.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you? This one's really more for you, Alison. Would you rather reverse your boob job or never be able to listen to Taylor Swift again?
This is an impossible to answer question. I guess You know, I've been thinking about it the entire time because I read the questions beforehand and I knew the question was going to come up, and I was like, it's such split. But, you know, pew pew to my head, probably not listen to Taylor Swift because my boobs have given me confidence that could not be matched by any of Taylor Swift's music. So I'm going to keep my boobs.
All right. But you could always listen to covers, worst case. You still get the quality of the songwriting.
Covers
covers.
And like EDM mixes.
Hey, there you go.
You
Perfect.
know?
All right. Besides Casey's kitchen, where's the strangest place you've ever had sex?
The back seat of a car parked in an airport parking lot.
Okay.
I feel like
Solid
that's kind of
choice.
normal. Backseat of
I
the car.
haven't had a lot of weird places, to be
Okay.
perfectly honest with you.
That's fair. I have to describe it. It doesn't make sense without fully describing it. So in the band room, they had a curtain that, you know, like that wraps around. All right. So there's like a wall, like a nook that the curtain would get pulled into.
Yeah.
I had sex in the nook.
Ooh.
Sneaky.
Like full on sex?
Full on sex.
I know exactly what nook you're talking about.
Yeah.
My school had the same thing.
Uh-huh.
Very sneaky.
Very sneaky. Yeah, I think I've shared mine on the podcast.
Wait, but
before.
I want to know what
Yeah,
your
I
answer
also
is.
want to know.
It's a T-Mobile store.
Wait, hold on. There's a story to
There's
this.
a whole story.
I mean, it depends. It depends how you define like lesbian full-on sex. But there was some fingering in a T-Mobile store.
That counts. Wait,
Wait,
do
were
I
you
have
working
a
there?
different?
No, I
if
wasn't
it's
working there, no.
just, If
I was
it's
just a customer.
fingering,
Just out in the open at the T-Mobile store.
Listen, listen. I was taught growing up that if you're going to do something, do it discreetly, and then, you know, you can get away with a lot. So I believe I was trying to get a new phone. Sarah and I were, you know, very in our honeymoon puppy love phase. Doing it all the time, and then we did it in line while I was getting a new phone.
Oh
it
my
can
God.
be very boring waiting,
Yeah.
specifically
long
at the
line.
cell phone store.
It was and
Waiting to get
service.
I wasn't.
being
I
serviced.
couldn't. I wasn't gonna
And
say it.
let's be real. Like this wasn't a long session.
No,
This
I'm
was like-
very
I
entertained
would
by
count
the
that as sex. I
Yeah.
think it
Yeah.
counts. I think it's the best answer of the three of
Well,
ours.
hey,
Absolutely.
listen. You know, that's why I write all the fucked up stories. Okay, this one I cannot answer. What's better, porn dick or boyfriend dick?
boyfriend dick.
Boyfriend dick.
Okay, quite quick to answer. I think I know why. Quick explanation why. In one sentence.
Porn dick hurts.
My quick answer is maybe more esoteric and more like porn dick is work.
Wow, these are statements. Here's one I could answer, but I would like to hear you all answer it. What is your best cunnilingus tip? The giver. Let's start with the giver.
Start slow. Slower than you think you should be going. I think like too often it's just straight in and nope. Give me a flat, slow tongue, not just on my clit either.
Mm-hmm.
I will add to the start slow by saying the inner thighs and all of that is an excellent place to start. You don't even have to go right to the pussy.
I wanted to say that, but I was like, that's more than one tip. So I concur.
I will help
I think
you
people
out.
do need a lot of tips when it comes to.
Also, I think now I'm going to give another one because I just can't. I think too many people will also like check in with your partner about if they like the actual vagina and or urethra licked, messed with. I don't. It gives me the heebie-jeebies if someone's doing that. Not everyone's going to like it. So fucking talk to your partner.
Everybody's body is different.
Everybody's body is
weird.
All right, my last question, which I also cannot personally answer, and I don't even know if I want to know, but our audience might. Could you describe what cum tastes like?
Well, okay, first, it depends on who it's coming from.
Mm-hmm.
It can taste
very different. It can taste very different. It can taste very different
Are
from
there
the same
notes?
person.
Are there undertones of the same? And then
I think
now I'm just gonna.
I
ask.
try to not think about it.
I think the
Is there some
undertone
consistency?
is salt.
Okay.
But-
Okay. Yeah.
And sometimes it's very salty.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's almost not
Is it like
salty at all.
sweat?
Sometimes it's like watery.
Is it like sweat? Like sweat
No.
salty?
No, less salty, I think, than sweat.
less salty than sweat, and such a different
Like,
texture that you
salty-
can't compare it to sweat.
Salty
Yeah.
egg white.
Okay.
The more this conversation continues, the less I ever want to have cum in my mouth again for the rest of my
I think
life.
salty egg white gives me enough of a conviction to never actually know what it tastes like. But good to know for everybody who may be watching this. We are ending the meeting
This note.
on this note.
Great.
Action items. Everybody go take a nice shower. Thank you all very much. We'll see you next time. Thank you guys. Thank you. All right. Woo, we did it.